we're ready to go here. I think we're rolling. Basha says we're rolling. I believe her.
Yeah.
Then Luva, welcome to this special edition of White Sami Noise podcast.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for talking to me. We are, by the way, at the show organized by Johan. You're playing. Trixor that's playing.
Yeah.
Alphamania is playing. Hingst is playing. And Feberdom.
Feberdröm.
Feberdröm,
It's
okay.
like feverish dream.
Okay,
Something like that.
I figured Feber was something
Yeah.
like that. Okay. So instead of me speculating on who you are and what you do, please just maybe tell me who you are and what you do currently as OCHU.
Yeah.
And is that correct how you pronounce it?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Can do whichever you want. It's like, I don't know if it's, I think it's actually a kind of Czechish word for ear or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Like Czech?
Yeah, I think so.
So it's not Swedish, because I wonder because for example in Polish, ch sound is like h, so it'd be like OCHU,
yeah.
and.
But it kind of lives its own life, I guess.
Okay.
It's like different people pronounce it in different ways, so I don't really. It's just a kind of, for me, it's just a word nowadays. It's just, it doesn't really mean anything, and that was the point from the start, I guess.
That's interesting. That's even more cryptic, because I feel like so many Swedish projects take great pride in using Swedish words and like having a lot of Swedish texts in their liner notes, like only Swedish.
Yeah.
Where of course Swedish people have a high level of English literacy, but there's a very conscious choice often to like represent Swedish language. So it's always this foreign how does this word pronounced, and you always assume it's Swedish. So knowing that it's actually not a Swedish word and you don't know how it's pronounced adds another layer of obscurity.
I guess.
But that's so you're
I think when I was choosing the name in 2001 or 2002, when I started out doing sound, I wanted it to be like not really to place. You couldn't really place it into anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it has some history, I guess, but I don't really even, as I said, remember anymore.
Right. You probably had a reason.
Yeah.
Probably had some notes.
Yeah.
That led you to this
but it was like
circled it. OCHU. It's OCHU.
Yeah. But I think. Actually, maybe one idea I had was that I knew that I was going to use loops as like main sound source. So I wanted to have a word with O that started with O. So
because of loop?
Yeah, because it looks like a kind of loop. Or
that's true.
Yeah. So that was
OCH. No, it's not
just
O at the end.
O. I just wanted to that it started with an O.
Yeah.
That was an early idea, at least.
But even the full name does kind of have a figure eight type of visual to it.
Yeah, maybe.
It's kind of symmetrical.
I haven't thought about it actually that much, but
yeah. Okay, so tell me about OCHU and what that project is for you.
Well, I think it has changed a bit, not really equipment-wise, but nowadays it's more like a kind of audio diary, because almost the only time when I record sounds is when I'm on vacation in the summer, and we have a summer house in an island called Gotland. And that's like almost the only time when I can record sound. So I just record sounds that I find, and so it's mostly almost only field recordings nowadays. Use some film samples in some cases, but mostly it's just sound or a kind of thing being played
Mm-hmm.
with it can be with like stones or whatever I find on that place.
But you're playing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you.
But
So you're making
it's like it's kind of it depends. Sometimes I play things, or sometimes it's just sound on the site. So
Right, but sometimes you are manipulating and
yeah, not really afterwards.
but like
I do-
on the set, like in the moment
Yeah,
in the field.
yeah,
so
yeah,
it's not like
of course.
staying there holding a
No,
recorder
not
saying.
just recording the sound. It's
So
more
you're
more,
in some sort of environment with things
Yeah.
that you find, and you are then manipulating the objects to
Yeah.
create the
Yeah.
sound. Okay,
Yeah.
that's.
but it has gone actually more and more to pure field recordings.
Mhm.
Or for this show, I have done a few recordings of like creaking floors
Mhm.
in a kind of, I don't know what it's called. It's kind of old military bunker or
Mhm.
something like that. So it's a kind of mix between pure field recordings where I'm not doing any sound myself, and that thing where I'm making some kind of sound
Yeah.
from anything at the area.
How does that contrast or fit in with like the vacation experience of what you're doing at the time? Because I assume you're going away with your family
Yeah.
to a place to kind of relax and maybe have
Yeah.
some fun.
Yeah.
And OCHU doesn't sound like a vacation getaway kind of vibe. But so how does that work out? Like, are you breaking
It's,
off from the family and kind of going on your own to do some?
Yeah, it's actually sometimes when we're going by car somewhere, and I hear or see something outside, it's like okay, we can stop here, and I have to record this. So they are kind of used to me being like recording stuff all summer almost. I mean, I'm having a kind of vacation almost for 6 weeks or something like that. So it's not that much.
Yeah.
It's just when I find something. So I have in the car like all kind of easy recording equipment, not anything extreme, just small stuff.
Cool.
Tapes and a microphone.
Yeah.
Almost like that.
So then how does it all come together? What is the compositional process? Because you're obviously layering and bringing these raw sounds into something. Then
Yeah. I think now I've been doing more just longer recordings. I think earlier I did shorter sounds and looped them, but now on a kind of Akai looping machine. And I think nowadays I'm doing more just pure sound and recording it on tape, and then I put it like in layers and using multiple tape recorders through a mixing desk.
What are you looking for when you source these sounds and when you put them together? Like what are like kind of goes back to the summer vacation question is, but what are you trying to convey for either feeling or if it's just content or form? But what are you attracted to? What do you try to bring over?
I think it's actually like a kind of I haven't really thought about, but it's more. I think it's more a kind of to find something else outside of like the life there, and it's more like kind of. It's maybe not really fun to search for sound, but it's more kind of hard to explain. I try to. It depends. If it's a kind of ordinary field recording, it's not really. Then I'm just finding a sound and try it out later on.
Yeah.
It's not really intentional thing, but I guess it's kind of getting away from the family is actually kind of important for the process, because especially when I go away and like play something, or it can be, I guess, kind of meditative in a way, actually. So it's but then again, when I come home and after the summer, and because I don't have any mixing desk with me, so I just have kind of a full tape with different recordings, and then I go through it and search for sounds that can go well with each other, I guess. Yeah.
And at that point,
does that answer your question?
It does. How much would you say does content play a role, or is it more form in terms of like, are you choosing these sounds and choosing, especially once you've recorded, are you choosing these based on, maybe like the memory of the place or what the place was, or are you really just choosing these based on their sonic, whatever came on the tape?
I guess it's kind of both ways. I think when you record the sound, it's a kind of you see the place, you have a kind of visual thing around there, and then sometimes you can like listen to stuff at home, and then it's something completely else.
Right.
It's like
especially you're using analog tape mostly, right?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, not to interrupt you, but I think that also makes such a big difference, is that you have that can change the sound so much that a digital field recorder perhaps is quite precise, and you might have a clear image, but these analog machines really kind of can transform the sound, where maybe I know I've experienced it sometimes listening to something back that I've recorded on a tape. I don't really know. I can no longer identify what it was, because the recording actually sounds quite different.
I know the feeling. I guess it's sometimes I find like unintentional sounds on tape, and decide to use that sound instead. Yeah. But I keep like pretty. I when I record something, I write down the place, and so I have a kind of relation to the place. But I think when thinking about the recordings and what I try to convey or something like that, is kind of for me it's just existence. I think it's more because I don't have a clear thought about like what I want to say. It's more kind of a reflection, I guess, and go through what sometimes it's more like what has happened since last summer in my personal life and stuff like that as well. So it's kind of a meditation on life from last summer, I guess.
Cool.
And it's not, as I said, it's more like I mean, I can't really. It's not really kind of any spirit in the sound, but I can relate to the situation when I did the sounds, and that's kind of a afterwards. I guess. And then I can. Most often, it's titles and themes or anything like that is made a bit later on. Most often. Yeah.
What about the musical elements, like the record? I won't get the name right. Svarnit, or what is it?
Sorry.
The 12-inch that came out like 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Like with the risograph.
Cover.
Tvärsnitt.
Yeah, Tvärsnitt.
Yeah.
There's some like musical elements to it, like some organ and some kind of like gongs and percussion. Like where does that come from? They seem very specific.
They come from recording sessions I did with a kind of percussion trio, and I asked them to like use some of the recordings from those sessions.
Cool.
Not the organ one, but the kind of more percussion based parts. I have like a lot of recordings we did, but I'm thinking it's maybe it was made around the same time, a few years earlier, maybe. But I think those recordings could be, maybe if we decide to go through them as a whole, maybe they should be released on its own instead, because it wasn't really me solo doing stuff.
Right.
And it was. Well, it was 3 persons, and not made under the OCHU name.
Yeah. It's an interesting little. I mean, it's an interesting. I haven't heard every of your recordings, but it's an interesting kind of segue to them, because it's a quite present part of these. Yeah,
it's a more maybe a more wilder approach, I guess, than most of the other stuff.
Yeah. Let me see.
But I like percussion stuff, actually.
Yeah.
But it's not anything I listen to much. But I like the kind of in a way it's kind of ritualistic thing you can do with a lot of percussion.
What would you say is most important when you're like creating a final OCHU release? Is it like the broad strokes, meaning like the basic elements, or is it like the finer details?
I think it's I have been listening to like industrial music for quite long, like 25 or maybe even 30 years. So I think I have a kind of a clear, in a way, in a kind of vision what I want to present, and I guess I have my kind of heroes as well that I want to at least acknowledge in some way their work. The latest tape, which I'm releasing today, and also later on as a 12-inch, it's kind of inspired by Werkbund's first LP, actually, because it's maybe not clear for anyone else, but for me, I was it has been a long time favorite of mine, that album, and I was recording some stuff that was on a boat too, and it has a kind of it's about the sea and its dangers, I think. So that was kind of an inspiration for the latest recordings I've done.
Who are some other of your heroes, so to speak?
There's a lot, I guess. But do you mean like in general?
Well, in terms of maybe, my question was kind of about how, I would say your work is very minimal, but it's also very decided. Like, you have fairly short and infrequent releases, which maybe, it's maybe just due to your personal life, but when they come out, they're very minimal, very decided, but you have like certain sounds presented pretty raw or in simple combination with each other. Like you very much really kind of landed on this, and you're not really like overly complicating or overly manipulating but it's like a very conscious decision. And that's, I guess, the question about the broad strokes, meaning like, is it about those sounds themselves, or is it about how you maybe mix them and how you tweak them in the exact texture that comes over from them, and then to your heroes, you mentioned your heroes, and I guess if there are other artists that you're specifically kind of,
I guess it's kind of a mixture of all those things. I guess it's I don't think it's possible to erase all influences I have when doing stuff. Sure. I have some things I want to go on with, like using same equipment almost, just refining something, or and I kind of like the I like the mixture of not having like the visual side should be more strict, not like a lot of collage work, and the sound can be more primitive, I guess, and very, very specific or whatever. And I mean, I guess it's kind of course, I can see influences in my work. It's I have so large collections. I mean, I can find stuff that I just a few years after when I've done something, it's like, oh shit, this is almost not really copying anything, but it's like, okay, this made some kind of impact. And for some reason, I wanted to do something in the lines of that.
So I mean, now, kind of to your collection and that side of things, you ran the label Segerhuva.
Yes.
For several years, with two other individuals. Can you talk about Segerhuva and your role in it, and also your relationship to the other two people there?
Sure. Segerhuva was started without me. It was Jonas and Tommy Carlson.
Jonas, what's his last name?
Kellager. I think they knew each other from the Gothenburg years when Tommy lived in Gothenburg. I'm not sure actually.
Sure.
And I was at the time when they started Segerhuva, I was more into. I was going, I guess, in kind of more harsh noise way. I had been listening to like more from the start, like Cold Meat, like all Swedes almost.
Sure.
Well, it's actually kind of, it's not possible, I think, to be like,
to avoid.
But I was going in that direction, listening wise, and for some reason I got interested in the first Government Alpha LP, which they released, I think, in 1999.
99 or 2000.
And I don't know how I met Tommy for the first time, actually, but he was working at kind of what's it called? Not cartoon store, like comics store. And I met up with him there and bought a copy of the LP. And I guess that's where our kind of friendship started. I was working also not that far from that store, so it's kind of easy for me to just go to that store and then on my way home, or
in Stockholm.
Here in Stockholm. Yes. And I think just he was very enthusiastic about noise and giving me several. I think I bought some kind of rare stuff from him, which he was selling at the time, and I think like maybe 1 or 2 years later, I started doing sound myself.
Cool.
So, but sorry, back to Segerhuva.
Okay.
I think we did. We had more and more like communication, and he knew that I was interested in almost the same stuff as him, and I guess he saw me as a kind of new young guy who was interested in that kind of music, and I became more and more enthusiastic myself, so was fit like a glove, I guess. And I I guess I had been interested in releasing stuff myself too, since like the 90s, but I didn't do anything much until I don't know really how it came to fruition. I think it's
but so they were like kind of curating the label, and then you started like doing like you took a role in the label, because I mean, tell me about working together, because it's sort of rare that even two people working on a label works well together, and three is even more, unless you're really organized, you know?
I mean, it started with Tommy and Jonas, and they had planned a couple of releases. I think they released Government Alpha and the Blood 7-inch, and they had a couple of other stuff, the 10-inch with Barricade and Death Squad and Hydra. So I think I came into the label around that time when they had like 4 or 5 releases out. They did the Irm Skineria 10-inch and the Sharon's Last Party. So that's where I came in, and I think I focused more on they weren't that interested in doing the kind of mail order side, and I said like I can do that. It's no problem. It became kind of a problem, but later on, but that's another story. But it wasn't a really big mail order anyway, at least not from the beginning. So I don't it wasn't that much to do a kind of homepage and put up some stuff, I guess.
Do you enjoy doing mail order?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's a kind of a part you just have to do.
Yeah.
I mean, at least those days.
Yeah.
That when there wasn't really any digital stuff, and you had to send out stuff.
Right.
In a way or another.
Yeah. What do you like about it? Because I don't love doing it. It's a burden, but I also there's certain elements that I like about it, and I've noticed that you package things very nicely. And that's something that I think a lot of people who get involved in underground music or noise, I don't really know much about other genres, but noise, for example, is getting packages is a very special experience, and especially the handmade I mean, we all get packages nowadays from Amazon and everywhere. It's kind of it's become very standardized, but still, to get a package that's, you know, kind of put together by hand and maybe taken extra care, and you see someone's taped in a special way, you see stamps from all the world and some flyers in it. That's really satisfying to get, and it's also quite as satisfying to do, I think.
Well, I try to like reverse a bit when I pack stuff. I don't think I'm that good at packaging, actually, but thanks.
Eric Newstrom mentioned that recently, that packages from you are especially nice.
Yeah, okay. That's good.
Yeah.
Good to know. But I mean, it's sending mostly vinyl. You just have to pack it.
Yeah.
At least for some like quality, I guess. I mean, tapes is kind of not so good to send, but CDs are quite easy to pack and send. You can just put some bubble plastic around it, but it's, I mean, you can have a bad luck, of course, but but I try to reverse, and when I'm thinking like, oh my God, all these packages. I don't send out that much, but I mean, I just go back to what I'm experiencing myself when I receive a package, and you know, of course now when I'm like 45, it's not really the same as when I was 20, and just I remember when I skipped school I checked with Roger at Cold Meat for like and he had told me that he has sent stuff, and I was skipping school just to wait by the kind of post mailbox.
Yeah.
So of course I don't do that anymore. But
do you think those days are over? This intense and intimate relationships with like mail orders and underground contacts and things like that?
Maybe, but I guess you just have to you have to try.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the years when I received like packages almost daily.
Yeah.
Those days are over for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't order stuff that much anymore. Mostly picking stuff from the Millstone mail order, of course, but well, it depends. I think one of the reasons why I don't release that much is because I want to minimize the whole flood of releases.
Yeah.
I mean,
do you think that has a problem? Do you think it's a problem?
Maybe not a problem, but I don't really want to be a part of it. I mean, it's not. I can choose what I want to hear, and I mean, it's not a problem maybe in general, but for me personally, when I see so much stuff, it gets kind of I lose kind of interest when it's too much, and I when it's artists that I'm interested in, I want to wait for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I have so much stuff anyway, too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of... I don't mind waiting. Yeah. That's okay.
Right.
You don't have to put out stuff that much, at least. I mean, it's... Sometimes I've thought about, like, if everyone was releasing one album or tape or whatever once a year, it would be much more kind of possible to hear about stuff too, I guess.
Yeah. I've thought about recently, and I've talked about it a bit on the podcast. I talked about it with Tommy too on our like Patreon episode. Like with the changing logistical situations that revolve around physical formats, particularly vinyl, for example. Energy is getting more expensive. Fuel shipping is going up. Vinyl is taking longer and longer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think at least it's probably only a matter of time before certain things become totally impractical, because the noise scene, industrial scene, whatever, is really based on artists putting out stuff like all the time. And do you think those like material limitations could have the effect that people would say, oh, like let me just make one good album per year and maybe it costs more or something like that? Yeah,
I think that would be possible, and I think actually we all could reverse a bit. I mean, we should talk about stuff that's few years old too. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's still a kind of artifact which you can use and listen to for quite some time at least. And I guess I have to do better myself in that aspect. Writing about stuff I listen to. But I at least try to contribute in that way, like writing at least that as much as I can. When writing texts on the Millstone website. So I don't want to use like official press releases or whatever.
No, I think that's amazing that you do that, and I wish I could too. I mean, I'm doing the White Same Noise distro, and I get so much in and so much goes out before sometimes I don't even get to listen to it before it's out. And I wish I could really give thoughtful descriptions.
Yeah.
And I always appreciate that. So tell about Millstone, Millstone Vinyl. That's your current. So Sigerhuva has been closed for at least 10 years or something right now. But so you do Millstone Vinyl, right?
Yes. And well, it was kind of a logical continuation, I guess. I had loads of Sigerhuva
Mm-hmm.
boxes around, so we had to keep on doing mail order one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't want to use the Sigerhuva name. I think we had kind of used a few years after Sigerhuva had finished. We used a kind of discussion group thing, which is called or related to Sigerhuva in some way, but then that closed down, and I think I that was kind of part of the thing that I wanted to present more vinyl stuff, because it also was a kind of way for me to have time to listen to that stuff. Was just choosing the format I liked the most, and well, focusing on that mostly. But I mean, it's not really. I have some other stuff as well, which I wanted to present or something like that to a wider audience. I guess.
You have a pretty curated collection, which kind of has a lot of. It's pretty diverse, but it's also it has some sort of personal touch to it. How would you describe your personal tastes in that in noise and electronic music, and also what you choose to carry? You can just point the mic at your mic a little more.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm just getting loud. I just want to make sure we don't lose anything.
Sure. Well, I wanted it to be a kind of mail order which was focused on the stuff I was interested in myself. I back to the years of Sigerhuva, we didn't do that much trading. We didn't trade for to just get the stuff out.
Right.
We were quite selective about stuff, and wanted kind of continuing in having kind of specially curated stuff. So I guess that's what I'm trying to do and keep doing. I mean, it's very I mean I don't sell much at all these days, actually. But
you also keep very low profile. I mean, you've decidedly you don't use any social media, as far as I know, or maybe you have Facebook.
I have kind of a Millstone account. I have, actually.
Do you have like an email?
But
do you have an email list?
No, not nowadays. No. I think, but I should have. I think, actually, maybe that's a kind of a better way to get the information out. Yeah, actually.
How do you feel about the information flow in this day and age? Do you feel like? I feel like sort of in perhaps your generation, there was like this kind of model that if you have something with quality and you kind of just let it sit there and let it be, it's going to just, from word of mouth and natural flow into the world, become sought after and attracted. Yeah. Do you think that's still the case, or you think that's been kind of drowned out by the...
I guess my collection, like on Millstone, is kind of both. I guess I try to keep stuff I want to see there. Like I reorder stuff sometimes, like the shop double LP from. It was like ridiculously expensive with the postage, but I just I want to have it in the mail order. There's some of those releases that I just want to have available for people, I guess.
Are you doing
especially in Europe for certain US labels?
Yeah. Do you do distribution for yourself, or do you do it for the audience, or do you do it for the artist? Or I mean, I guess probably some combination of it. But what are your considerations there? Like,
I mean, in general, it's I order stuff I think I will enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I take my chances sometimes, but it's well, it's kind of a mixture between.
Do you ever pick something up that you think you won't really like, or you know it's not your style, but do you think people will want it, or you want to, or you want to support the artist?
Of course, there are certain releases I know that will sell.
Sure.
For some reason or another, but well, mostly it's. I think I have more like, this is a kind of strange label.
Yeah.
I want to see this distributed because I don't see it that much anywhere.
Yeah.
Maybe more in that way. I guess.
Yeah. That's cool. I think that's.
But it's not really for the group itself. It's more for the label. I think.
Sure. Yeah. What can you tell me about Verlautbarung?
Well, it started out in kind of the same way that when I met Tommy, but it's a kind of different story. It started out in when I was in Berlin in 2007, and I met a German guy there. It was called Bruno. He was kind of just generally a strange guy, but we started talking, and he was like interested in Hatband, and for some, I don't know how he had found out about more Swedish stuff, but we just started talking.
Yeah.
And he mentioned that he was interested in like starting a label, and I said, why not try? And he wanted to release Projektat. That was his like main interest around that time. So I put him in contact with that group, and they had a kind of recording for the Irgun Svaileomi moniker. And it was kind of started by him, and he was kind of doing he had ideas for artwork, and he had kind of in the beginning some more contact with the groups, and but he didn't want to work with like distribution. He was more interested in like releasing stuff. So it came like naturally. I wanted to distribute this, and nowadays we just have like not that much contact, but I put I send him emails sometimes, and like listen to this, and send him some tapes with groups, like doing kind of mixtapes that he can listen to, and he sends me stuff sometimes. But it's more it's grown like more that I'm doing like more and more. He's kind of curator type.
Okay. So there is really another guy involved. I thought this was I thought this was like a joke, like that it was like based in Germany, this label, but
but I mean, he doesn't really want to have contact with anyone. He's like I don't know. He's, I guess, kind of antisocial stuff, but he was at the concert, so I mean, it's kind of, I don't know really what person he is. We just started talking, and he had a kind of idea that he was disappointed with Tesco, that they had done like more ambient recordings, and I just like, I know that feeling. And we had kind of fun discussion about it.
Yeah.
And just started out in that way.
Yeah.
But he's not really that involved anymore. It's just like a kind of curator type. And I like outsource maybe. I don't have knowledge that much in layout. I have ideas, but I don't really do the kind of
graphic design.
Not I don't really use computers.
Okay.
Almost.
Yeah.
It's more like sending emails and that stuff, but not that much artwork stuff.
Let's see what else I have here written down. What was it like working with Mnem? You've released quite a few albums from Mnem, and I'm not sure. I think you weren't the first label to work with them, but you've worked with them probably the most.
Yeah. I think Jonas and Tommy wrote. They wrote for Jonas kind of fanzine, which was called Soma. And I think they reviewed the first Mnem 10-inch. So I kind of knew that they were into their recordings. And I think maybe we were for some way... we got in contact with Chaos Control, the Finnish label that was that released their first CD, and we just said all three that we wanted to release something by them, and it's like two persons. I know they live in different cities in Finland, and. I think when we did the Golima LP, the first one, we it's just a strange story. We did the covers at home, not like spray. What's it called? Not spray paint.
Screen print.
We did we printed the kind of. Parts for the cover, and then like glued them onto the cover. And I think it was released around the same time we were going to a Genocide Organ show in Turku, in Finland. And one of the guys from NAM lived in Turku, so we just met up with them there, and they got their artist copies. And I was I went to Finland with my then pregnant wife. She had a very big stomach, or what do you say? I don't know. She was
belly.
Yeah. And we were staying at the kind of youth hostel thing. So I think you have to ask Tommy about more details. I think he slept at one of the guys' apartment.
Okay.
If I remember right. But I just know I think he lost all his artist copies around the venue somewhere because he got so drunk. And they seem to have kind of special relationship, those guys.
To each other?
No, I mean, they just had a kind of strange... I mean, they were not a couple, but I mean, they had a kind of... I don't want to say too much, but they had kind of... one of them was more the very silent guy and keeping track of everything, and everything is... seems that like everything is okay and work out good, and the other guy was more like chaotic, drunk guy.
Okay,
so I guess they complemented each other in a way.
But they aren't really known outside of that in the scene, are they? Or do they have?
Not really. I think. I mean, I mean, the one of the guys' name is Yuri, and I know he lives in Joensuu, I think it's called, somewhere in and I've met him several times since that, but not that many, but well, I guess they kind of want to keep low profile, I guess. I know that they had a kind of break too between, I don't know which years. I think one of the members were living in Berlin or something like that for a while. So they had a kind of, but then I've just tried to keep in contact with them through email mostly.
Yeah.
And Yuri was ordering stuff like maybe once a year or something like that from the mail order. So we kept in touch.
Yeah. They're mysterious characters. I don't know why. Their music is very mysterious, and I guess...
Well, I don't think... I mean, not really when you meet them. I think they have kind of very distinct way of working together. And I think it's the kind of more drunk guy that has all the equipment, so he have to like go to his place and have some drinks and use their like real machines. I don't know really how they record stuff, but I remember that detail at least.
Oh, great!
But I don't think they're kind of, they felt pretty laid back when I met them. So it wasn't really mysterious in that sense.
Yeah. Okay. Being that you've seen kind of you've been involved in mail orders and kind of the noise trade, the noise economy, so to speak, for a while, what are some things about the current age 2022 in terms of noise scene, in terms of noise economy that you're not, that you wish were different?
Well, I think we've discussed a bit pieces of this earlier. I guess I would like to see more critique and more or just basic questions. Why this cover? Why these details? Why this cover? You know, titles. To me, it's become more and more like just some product that you put in the shelf, or I mean, you have to. What was the main interest when you were younger? I mean, you still like can put out that stuff and look through it and get some kind of maybe not the same reaction, but at least kind of well, you want to like dive deep into both the visuals and the sound and well, I guess it's kind of a problem that information is available. I guess that was part of the kind of, in that case.
Hey.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. I have one more question. I heard you hated playing live. Why? What inspired you to play live tonight?
Well, I think it's kind of part of the whole thing to do live shows sometimes, but I've taken like very easy route. Just I've done kind of tried to make sounds live in earlier and just didn't go as I planned, and I don't have that much time to prepare stuff at home, or I don't have any like rehearsal place or something like that. So I guess it's kind of I just want to be part of something. I guess I mean it's not really often. I think it was like 4 years since I did something in a kind of live situation. So I guess it's part of, and when Johan asked me and to do something here in Stockholm, it was like, well, sure, why not? You have to do it sometime, I guess.
Yeah.
I know for like back to NEM, I know that a lot of people have asked them to try to do live shows, and they have said it's just not possible doing the stuff they do in a live situation. But well, I guess it's I don't really like playing live. Actually, I do it because I kind of have to.
You're supposed to.
But yeah, but it's, I mean, it's fun in a way, I guess, trying stuff out. But I don't like that much going to shows either. Actually, I'm not. I like being at home, listening to stuff. Actually, in the when it's like my own context, or what do you call it? It's kind of better for me.
I can relate to that totally. Yeah.
But it's, I mean, it's, as I said, it's kind of part of the whole thing that you do it sometime at least.
Well, I'm glad you have begrudgingly decided to play this evening.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me.
Yeah, sure.
And we'll carry on as the evening goes on.
Yeah.
Behind the camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Thanks.
Thank you, Oscar.